Hi friends! Welcome to Chat and Read with Tara. How are you doing today? I have a question for you. Do you like hot weather or cold weather better? When I was a kid, I think I liked cold weather better. I grew up near Lake Ontario in New York State, and we had really cold winters with lots of snow. I thought that was so much fun to build all sorts of things in the snow. Now, I think I like warm weather better. I like feeling the sun on my face, picnics, swimming. The book I'm going to read to you today is about an animal that lives somewhere super cold. The emperor penguin. Not all penguins live where it's super cold, but this one does. The book I'm going to read to you today is called The Emperor's Egg by Martin Jenkins, and it's illustrated by Jane Chapman. This is a nonfiction book, which means it's not a made-up story, but it's really interesting because penguins are really fascinating animals. I hope you enjoy. The Emperor's Egg by Martin Jenkins, illustrated by Jane Chapman. Down at the very bottom of the world, there's a huge island that's almost completely covered in snow and ice. It's called Antarctica, and it's the coldest, windiest place on Earth. The weather's bad there in the summer, but in winter, it's really horrible. It's hard to imagine anything actually living there. But wait. What's that shape over there? It can't be. Yes! It's a penguin! It's not just any old penguin either. It's a male emperor penguin, the biggest penguin in the world, and he's doing a very important job. He's looking after his egg. Male emperor penguins are about 1.3 meters tall. The females are a little smaller. He didn't lay it himself, of course. His mate did that a few weeks ago. But very soon afterwards, she turned round and waddled off to the sea. That's where female emperor penguins spend most of the winter, swimming about, getting as fat as they can, eating as much as they can, and generally having a very nice time, as far as you can tell. Emperor penguins mainly eat fish, squid, and tiny shrimp-like animals called krill, which leaves the father penguin stuck on the ice with his egg. Now, the most important thing about egg sitting is stopping your egg from getting cold. Inside the egg, a penguin chick is starting to grow. If the egg gets cold, the chick will die. That means it has to be kept off the ice and out of the wind. And what better way to do that than to rest it on your feet and tuck it right up under your tummy, which is just what the father penguin does. And that's how he'll stay for 2 whole months until his egg is ready to hatch. Can you imagine it? Standing around in the freezing cold with an egg on your feet for 2 whole months. Female emperor penguins lay 1 egg in May or June, which is the beginning of winter in Antarctica. What's more, there's nothing for the father penguin to eat on land. And because he's egg sitting, he can't go off to the sea to feed. That means 2 whole months with an egg on your feet and no supper, or breakfast, or lunch, or tea. I don't know about you, but I'd be very, very miserable. Luckily, the penguins don't seem to mind too much. They've got thick feathers and lots of fat under their skin to help keep them warm. And when it gets really cold and windy, they all snuggle up together and shuffle over the ice in a great big huddle. Most of the time, the huddle trundles along very, very slowly. But sometimes, when the penguins get to a particularly slippery slope, they slide down it on their tummies, pushing themselves along with their flippers, always remembering to take care of their egg and trying hard not to bump into each other. Even though the males keep the egg tucked right up under their tummies when they slide, it sometimes rolls out and breaks. And that's how the father penguin spends his winter. Until one day he hears a chip, chip, chip. His egg is starting to hatch. It takes a day or so, but finally the egg cracks right open, and out pops a penguin chick. Now the father penguin has 2 jobs to do. He has to keep the chick warm, and he has to feed it. The chick is only about 15 centimeters tall at first, and much too small to keep warm by itself. But on what? The chick is too small to be taken off to sea to catch food, and it can't be left behind on the ice. Well, deep down in the father penguin's throat, there's a pouch where he makes something rather like milk, and that's what he feeds to his hungry chick. The father penguin can only make enough milky stuff to feed his chick for a couple of weeks. But just as he's about to run out, a dot appears on the horizon. It gets closer and closer, and yes, it's Mom! She starts trumpeting, "Hello!" And the father penguin starts trumpeting, "Hello!" And the chick whistles. The racket goes on for hours, and it really does sound as if they're incredibly pleased to see each other. Every adult penguin has its own special call, like a fingerprint. Chicks have their own special whistle too. As soon as things have calmed down, the mother penguin is sick, right into her chick's mouth. Yuck, you may think. Yum, thinks the chick, and it gobbles the lot down. It's the mother's turn to look after the chick now, while the father sets off to sea for a well-earned meal of his own. About time, too. The end. There are 17 kinds of penguin, but the emperor is the only one that breeds in Antarctica in midwinter. The adults arrive at their breeding areas often as far as 200 kilometers from the open sea in late autumn. A few weeks later, the female lays her single egg and returns to the sea, leaving the male to keep the egg warm until it hatches a couple of months later. At first, the male and female take turns to look after the chick, but soon it is big enough to be left while both parents go fishing for its food in the sea. By the time it's 4 months old, the young penguin's coat of fluffy down has been replaced by adult feathers. It now also sets off for the sea, where it has to start looking after itself.